Okay, there we go. What's up, everybody? This is the return of the Rookie Corner, episode 36. Picking up on these episodes once again. I'm joined today by the Purple Valkyrie. What's up?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Yeah, nothing really going on in news today.
No.
It's a slow day. What can I say?
Might snow in some places. Some wintry weather coming around. Just might. Everybody bring your snow shovels. That's the main thing. That's on everybody's mind. What's up, Keely Chow? Good seeing you around here. Jim the Viking. A Viking has joined. Toss a coin to your Valkyrie and guest. Appreciate that. Or is it the other way around? Yeah. Exactly. Oh, yeah. So, I guess there's just some stuff. We're just talking some normal stuff today, just having a little chat. And that's pretty much what the Rookie Corner is. And I guess at the moment, what's on the top of most people's heads is the Gina Carano stuff, which I don't follow very closely, personally. I like that she's a wrestler, MMA, or
MMA, yeah, exactly.
Or something, and she's trying to act. I mean, in a way, I call that the Rock route, where somebody who's doing a more athletic sport is trying to do acting and going to Hollywood. And I think it takes a little while, but they can gain a good stride and become somewhat famous in it. Maybe have a good type of role in some movies and stuff. And starting with Star Wars, that's a great start to her career for it. But as of yesterday, it seems that that's all out of the way.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Oh God, yeah, that's kind of dominated the news today with a lot of people. I really like her. I am a fan of her. I liked her in Deadpool. I thought she was really good in that, as well as in The Mandalorian. But
that was her in Deadpool. Oh yeah, she was in Deadpool.
Yeah, she
was her. Okay,
she was Angel. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah. But it's not even so much how they do. It's the hypocrisy. People always say they want strong women, representation.
Yeah.
And what they really want is women that don't speak out of turn, women that will, toe the line. As soon as somebody like Gina, who has her own opinions, has her own thoughts, bam, she's gone.
Yeah, you open that mouth, gonna be consequences, apparently.
Apparently so, yeah, and cancelling people is a thing there.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess what I've heard, so Pedro, he's the guy who plays Mandalorian, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, and he's done some weird posts that were, I'd say, on the same vein, if not worse, I guess, more direct.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's double standards. He's done pretty much what Gina did. He's been provocative. He's been very, very vocal. But it seems that he has the right opinions, whereas she didn't.
Yeah, the one I remember from him was like he shared something about a Confederate flag, but like implying white supremacy, I assume, and then Nazi something saying they're defeated then, and then Republican thing, and it was like, okay, that's fine. But then Gina's thing was something how people's neighbors are what did the Jews in, not just the Nazis, right? It was something like that.
Exactly. Basically, what she said is that people will turn against their neighbors. She wasn't equating what happened in Germany with what's happening with her. It was just a social commentary on how quickly people will turn against each other.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, she's not really giving an opinion on anything. She just shared a thing, wasn't making a specific comparison to how things are right now. I mean, that's kind of the same type of thing. Everybody makes these types of comparisons these days anyway, where it's like if you just lifted the table, you'd knock down the game board of the government or something. And, it's like that's just something people will say and express. And if you don't like that they're doing that, it kind of feeds exactly what it says when that's
exactly.
what's going on. It's a little head scratcher of, really? Can't say that? That's weird.
Exactly. And with what happened today, people have just proved her right,
Exactly. I mean, I'm surprised. I'm surprised, but I'm glad she's got this gigantic fan base because she's a one-off Star Wars character. Like, she's not main cast, right? She's in how many episodes?
She's in probably most of the episodes of season 2. I can't remember season 1 because it's been quite a while since I watched it. I know she was in a lot of the episodes then as well. So she is a recurring character in this. and she was a very popular character. Presumably she would have been in more spin-offs as well that are coming, and obviously that now is not going to happen.
Yeah, but I mean, I wish that other actors, because I think about that, it's hard to think of actors that have that big a fan base so quick, I suppose, and so strongly with her with that. I mean, yeah, getting things to trend on Twitter so much in a way to oppose the people that try to trend against her. That's damn, she's got a Gina army.
Yes, it seems she polarizes people. You're either a fan of her or you're not, and the ones that aren't a fan are vehemently not a fan. Hence the hashtag cancel Gina and all that was trending at one point.
Right. See, this kind of goes into my mindset of, I don't think so. When people say Hollywood, I don't even know what that specifically means anymore, because I used to think that means that Hollywood was the only way that you can get like a movie released in public, essentially, like made DVDs of, released to streaming, released to whatever. I don't even know if that's true anymore. What exactly is the use of Hollywood right now? Like, I assume Netflix would be considered separate from Hollywood.
I would class it as separate. I would class pretty much all streaming services as separate to Hollywood. So Hollywood in the past obviously was Hollywood, it's where people go to become stars, it's where you have your careers built. But I think with what's happened in the last 12 months, films haven't been released. Hollywood has kind of ground to a halt. And I think a lot of celebrities have found out that people don't really care about their opinions that much.
Yeah.
And it's come as a little bit of a shock to them.
You don't want to hear what I say? What? Really? Pretty much. Like, I imagine when Netflix was trying to make all of its original movies, that I'm like, is that's separate from Hollywood? And then you look at me myself, I want to be a director someday, and I'm trying to make my own stuff now, and it's like I have a lot of means to be able to do it, and if I could get a little more money, then I could get even more stuff, or I could get more people to be involved as well. And so I'm hoping that at some point the people kind of end up making their own Hollywood, not specifically a joint organization. That's actually what I think would make it fail. If the people rose together and like forged it into one thing, I think it needs to be by individuals, that people, you like this thing, go over here, you like this thing, go over here, and feed whatever people enjoy, I suppose. Because if it's just all one thing, I feel like, repetition happens, or they'll be like Hollywood at some point. And then it's like,
yes. People have a tendency to follow patterns, as you say, and repeat mistakes. I think of it as, even like YouTube, say the community that we have with all these channels, there's a lot of cross pollination. We talk to each other, we lift each other up. I think it could be done that way. And that would be pretty cool.
It's a big social chain that connects all these things. And I mean, Comicsgate is a good example, because they try to crowdfund their own comic books. They do their YouTube channel, they get an audience based on what they talk about in there, and then they pitch their comic book, and people that follow them will see it and spread it out and try to get it. And that's how they're able to make something and build their following as well, especially if it's successful enough. They'll get more people to want to support it. And then I think that's a good way. That's what I want to happen with film at some point.
Yes.
It's hard to have it be that same way, because there's so many different aspects, especially with having people physically there with you. Though, like, it's possible to do stuff where people aren't present, like how I do with my filming. It's nobody's present. It's just everybody films wherever they are, and we try to make it work. But ultimately, I guess the fix would be green screens. But but people still want to have that physical feel, which is what I like as well. So I'd prefer to have people in the same room if possible, so that you can have the camera moving from one. The camera is a good part of showing a movie, so having people around is great. But having it be without the Hollywood process would be freaking amazing. Fans would enjoy that, and I think people that enjoy film, like being in films, actors, I think they could like it too. They just never experienced that before, so they don't even know. Like, they'd have no idea what that is. They've done it the old-fashioned way, and I'm not sure how many of them are aware of how new things can be. Like Star Wars series, Vader fan film is a good example. Whether people like it or not, he was able to make something of high production value and have a lot of people together for it. And even if people thought it was the worst, it's still a great accomplishment. and and he felt great doing it. Poured a bunch of his own money into it, but he felt great doing it. And
people don't realize that. But as you say, people like to get involved. I mean, you take your projects, for example, people love to get involved. It's a community thing. And I think getting back to that would be a really good idea. People feel more involved. And we have the means to do that, as you say.
Yeah,
Consider how lucky we are to be able to have this conversation at the moment.
exactly. And from other side of the world, different times. You're at dinner. I'm at almost lunch right now. And it's like, it's just a day of the week we're able to do this. Imagine though, if like somebody in Hollywood, like Robert Downey Jr., or if we want somebody, Tom Holland or somebody to, try to interact with his fans and try to make a project with his fans. Like, that would be amazing. That would actually garner some actual respect for people and have them interact with the real world, and the real world people interact with them, and kind of see both sides can, get any shades that are covered or whatever things they hear kind of lifted, and kind of
take a little bit of the glamour off.
Yes.
And just realize that people are actually people. Johnny Depp's had to going back to independent film, hasn't he? If I remember correctly, he's doing indie films now with what's happened. So big stars can go back to the roots, as it were.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Indie films have always been a thing. The difference between indie films and like Hollywood is that the budget essentially, and the amount of word for it to be able to be seen by people, I would assume. And independent films, if they could get the marketing push, maybe more people would like them. I think there's a lot of great ones that probably exist that we've never seen or heard of before, because they aren't pushed in our face. They're not released in theaters. They're not front and center on a streaming service. They're not pushed enough. So they could be the best films, just not seen, just under the rug.
Yeah, and I think that's a real shame. I know people will knock streaming services a lot, but they have kind of opened that doorway to films that you probably would never have known existed. If you think Amazon, you 3 o'clock in the morning, you can't sleep, turn on Amazon, you're flicking through and you find a film you've never seen before, and it turns out to be a masterpiece.
Exactly, which that kind of brings me and kind of shifting it, but kind of keeping it in the same vein here. I wish that streaming services would really try to look at this and try to adapt accordingly, because what I would like for them, and even YouTube, to have a feature where you get some results for videos based on what you watch, but then if you can also turn on like a different filter or something that's like, okay, give me things that are opposite of what I've have watched before, or what I've shown my interest in, or show me just a random assortment of stuff. Maybe have some limiters, like I don't want baby things suggested. I don't want kids cartoon something, like no, maybe not. And I don't want to see a country musical. So no. But other than that, randomize it or something and see what comes up. And then maybe you go, hey, that's a catchy thing. That's where people's thumbnails, titles, whatever things they do from their channels can maybe grab a whole new audience. And I think a lot of us would like to explore something like that, but that option's not available, so we can't do it. We just do based on what we watch, and that keeps us kind of in our own circles in a way. Like, it keeps a lot of people just in their same echo chamber.
So I found that it is hard to kind of reach new people. I mean, obviously, we're always networking and helping and lifting each other, but if there was an algorithm that we could program ourselves to target new people, that would be awesome. Even if it was part of YouTube Studios or something that we could affect.
Yeah, well, I mean, I want to apply this to people that aren't even YouTubers. Like, this is more for the audience as well.
Audience, that's what I meant.
Just like the regular person to go, I want to go on YouTube, but I don't really know what to look for right now. So I want to do like a random search, and maybe you could again limit the search to a specific country where videos are released from, or something like that. That'd be kind of interesting too. Like, I want some YouTube videos from Britain, and go right there. And I want ones from, I don't know if there's ones in whatever countries. You might not even know that there's some YouTube videos from certain countries. I don't know. But I mean, there's something like that with streaming, I think, where you can have access to Netflix or other things from different regions, because they show different films in different regions that are available. Like some shows or movies are available in Europe, and then other ones are not available that they have that's in America, and same with Australia. There's different availability, and that'd be kind of cool if you're from whichever point to be able to watch ones from there.
Yes, you'd be able to reach a much bigger audience, as you say, because
Yeah.
I'm sure the shows that you guys get that we've never heard of. Same with films. Same, people in Australia, as you say, they'll get stuff that we've never heard of. And if this is a global platform, it would
Yeah.
be nice, to open it up to all regions.
Yeah.
If it's on there, everyone will be able to get access to it.
Yeah, and it's in that same vein, where like, do you even know where you can find older films like that are from, I want to say early 70s and below?
Hmm.
Like, do you know where I want to see one of these old ones. Where do you just go for it?
Yes. So there used to be, I don't even know if the channel still exists anymore. It was TNT, if I remember correctly, and they used to show a lot of old films. Um, but I don't even know if that exists anymore. Same with sci-fi. When they were sci-fi instead of sci-fi. Yeah. You used to get some really great cheesy films that you'd never seen before, but it was fun.
Well, sci-fi ones are bizarre. They have a slot machine, and they have different animals, and they flip them, and they go, okay, so an octopus and an alligator, octogator or something, and that's their next movie.
Yeah.
But I was more referring to like movies from the 60s, or
Yes.
shows from the 50s or something. Like,
Yes.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I can't even get a sense of how many were made, at least in America or in other countries as well with film. And I would think by now they would try. I don't even know if they can. That's part of the problem. Is can they transfer some of that stuff to a streaming service or to Netflix or any of these streaming ones, so you can have access to really old films? Because I wanted to look at some black and white films, but I don't even know where to start with names because there's only so few, and the ones that show are the more popular ones probably. But were there small films that were also in that times, like the equivalent of an indie, but back when film was earlier on? I mean, it's been going on since like the 20s, or if not earlier. So I would think there's other stuff out there.
Sure, right there somewhere there is a database that could be used. As you say, it's transferring them from that database, if it's even possible, onto a streaming service. And it's with streaming service again, it's always money. Are
Yeah.
people going to watch these films? Because if they think they're not going to watch them, or if they're not going to get any traction, obviously they'll never see the light of day.
Well, I think that's why they should piggyback them onto some of the more popular ones. Like have like 50 black and white movies on Netflix, and maybe they promote that a bit on the homepage or whatever, just a little bit, or ads on YouTube, and maybe people would be interested. They go, hey, I haven't seen such and such film before. Let's see if it is. And I imagine a lot of older people would be, oh my God, they have that? I haven't seen that since I was a kid or something, and want to show their kids now. But I don't know. I just thought about that because it's like, think about movies that come out today, and if you can't ever have access to them in the future, if they have something different than a DVD, and you don't, you have a different account now or something. Those are gone forever now.
Yes, and film, is so important to our history as well. If something was made, it's a tragedy to lose it. It might not be the greatest thing in the world, but some people their heart and soul into it.
Yeah, I agree. That's an important thing. I mean, they're in a way like books, not in the same exact sense, but in a similar way. It's entertainment of some kind. It's the like if you could have filmed an old Greek play back in the day or something, like preserve it. It's something right there, a way to tell the story and have people remember it. But yeah, it's hard to say that we'll get anything like that. I hate that. I hate to think of things just being lost. Like, what if Star Wars? Oh, you can never see that ever again. They lost the thing.
Well, not even being lost; it's things being changed because they're not politically correct anymore.
Oh, true. Yeah, they'll morph it, and you can't see the original version anymore. Right.
Be a sanitized version or a more, in quotes, correct version. It won't be the original film, or books. Yeah. Books get banned as well, obviously, but I think it's more prevalent now with film because that's the media that we're dealing with.
Yeah, even if people read, even if people still read books, they're fine. But I don't know. Like I was thinking about, like our physical media is, always in question here, always. And what sucks about physical media too is that they do have somewhat of an expiration date, not necessarily a specific one, but I mean, if you watch anything frequently enough, or even once every 5 years or something, it's going to wear out at some point, and won't be able to play. So even if you have it, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have it. And same with streaming, though. They have whatever on streaming, so why would I buy it? Well, how long is it going to be on there for? Because they can just drop it or lose the rights to it or whatever, and then it's not up there anymore. Now where are you going to find it? It's hard to find things like that.
Yes, I mean, think how many VHS tapes you had growing up that you just kind of wore out because you'd played them so many times and rewound them so many times. And...
Yes. Oh, it's the scratchy part. Got fast forward. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, just. Jim the Viking says Hollywood is super clout equals making it big time. There are hundreds, even optional clothes people that can make better stories in cinematography. Don't ask about the optional thing or the optional closing. Oh, optional closing, yeah, of course.
He's right. The number of people that go to Hollywood seeking their dream, and you think just a tiny percentage actually make it, but the rest of the people are working so hard, behind the scenes, as extras, as crew. I think Hollywood does get a bad name because of this, elitist 1% that's,
True.
in charge. But yeah, I know exactly what he means.
I agree. I mean, editors alone get the least, one of the least credits for making something good, and they're what shows the final product. Like, there's hours of footage, if not days of footage, and they have to make that into a movie. Like, they have to add the music, the sound effects, everything. Got to make it look good. Make sure the camera works fine. Put a filter over it if they need to. Put whatever text over it they need to, and have the text. They struggle. Everybody struggles at this, making text not blend in with the background. I notice in a lot of movies they really don't pay as much attention to it as I like them to, because they'll have white text and somebody's got like a white shirt on, and I'm like, I have no idea what that says now.
That's just gone. Sorry.
Oh, yes. And then, he says, dinner? It's way past. Yeah, he's in the UK. Oh, yes. What's up, Continuum Track? Good to see you. Having you come on in. Doing good, man. Doing good. Getting things in gear. Always ready to go. Jim says that I've got a point. There are so many things, the Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon, that I'd like to exclude, but also things I'd like to tell that I like. My preference is cheesy 80s sci-fi fantasy. Yeah, I mean, what I hope at some point, which they'll never do because of each individual thing, if you could just have some kind of a ultimate streaming hub where you can have just access to all these things instead of having to have 7 different streaming services to, and passwords and everything, subscriptions, different prices to deal with and then browse. I mean, when I'm looking for a movie and if I have like 3 or more streaming services, I'm like, okay, now I have to literally go into each one to see if they have it.
Yes.
A little
like,
annoying.
Oh, you think, I remember seeing this film, but which service was it on? You're going through all of them to try and find it.
Yep. And I wish they'd have it. What was that?
I bookmarked it, but I can't remember where.
Oh, exactly. And I wish that they'd how was I gonna say? They I kind of have a point, but I forgot what it was. Right here. Says who doesn't love 80s cheese? I don't know, man. 80s seems to be one of the most popular areas ever, honestly.
It seems to have had a resurgence in the past few years as well. Everyone's getting back into the 80s films, and I think obviously you think about Cobra Kai, how popular that was from an 80s franchise. And 80s movies had the best music. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they did, but I'll say too, they also played them a lot in multiple movies in the 80s. Like, they played the same ones quite a few times, and that's kind of annoying sometimes. Where it's like, everybody's kung fu fighting or something, or Eye of the Tiger, or something like that comes in, and that's in like 4 or 5 movies that came out and around the same time. It's like, come on, guys, you could have picked a different one, maybe just a little bit, but still, it's got its charm every time. I guess I was going to say something about nostalgia. Like, what do you think about nostalgia these days? Do you think that people want to see more stuff like from the past, or see things from their past in the present right now or something, or like how a lot of movies are adapting things or trying to touch your nostalgia gland with things these days? I guess Luke being CGI in The Mandalorian is kind of one that wants to get your nostalgia in real quick, or movies that make references to something. What do you think about that stuff? Because I have a lot of stuff on it, but no direct opinion. I haven't formed an actual thought about it. Just a lot of different random things.
It is an interesting point. I think nostalgia has become a big thing, especially in the last 12 months, obviously, because not really anything new has come out that people can get excited about.
True.
Again, it goes back to the streaming service. There seems to be a lot of older films that have been put on that, people have kind of, I haven't seen it in 10 years, I'll watch that. And, I think it's a lot of films people find comforting as well. A film that you watched in the 80s might have a special meaning to you. If you went on a date, say, for the first time, and this is the film that you watched, and it's suddenly back on a streaming service, you think that's got a good memory to it. I'm going to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, as you say, with Luke in The Mandalorian, I think it is kind of preying on people's nostalgia a little bit, because I think obviously the last Star Wars films weren't particularly well received by a lot of people, but people love Mark Hamill. They love Luke Skywalker. They hated what was done to him in the films. So that's why people kind of latched onto that, and why it became such a big thing, because he was the hero again. He was the hero that people remembered. But I think, it has been manipulated a little bit, I think, people's nostalgia and, the member berries.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it can be used for good and bad. But I just enjoy older films, I've got to admit. And because nothing really new has come out in the past 12 months to grab our attention other than TV series. I mean, I can't think of a film that's come out really that's done amazingly well.
I think people want to see the passion in the people that are making the movies, and there's a lot of lacking to it in a way. I can't say that people are slacking on their job or anything. I'm not saying that, because making something these days can be a lot of hard work too, that we're just not seeing physically with it. But like the Terminator franchise and other ones from back in those days, everybody seems to enjoy the amount of detail they try to take to building their world story and the way it looks. And nowadays it seems like some of the stuff just seems to get a little forgotten or brushed over, or no, what, we don't need to think about that right now. The characters, who really cares right now? We just want it to look cool and have, this. You remember this is something they remember, so we'll just put that on there and we'll be fine.
Yeah. They'll latch onto it. It's fine, and if they don't, you have some explosions, and
Yeah. Oh, it's loud. They'll be nowhere, right? People in Japan can see it, and they don't need to pay attention to the subtitles if action's happening, so you're good. It seems to be some of their thoughts with it, and I don't know, like the way Patrick Willems, I think, said, it might have been somebody else, but the way he was describing Star Wars, or like Star Wars fans, is that he sees it as people want to feel how they did when they were a kid and watching it. I'm sorry, I've never felt like that. I don't understand. Is that really how everybody kind of wants to feel? Because I've never been like, I want to feel like how when I was a kid and I watched it and I'm watching it now. Like, I don't know. To me, I want to see it in a different way. But if anything, I want to see if I can watch the same thing or something different that's from that franchise and see it in a different way. But in a way that adds to it, not in a way that goes like, what have you done? Kind of thing.
I can see what you mean. I mean, if I watch a film, I that had a special meaning to me. I wouldn't want it to go back to like a childhood memory, but I would want it to be, you know what, I love this film. Do I still love this film now? And if I did, that would be the feeling that I'd want, something that reminds you of a good memory. It's almost like a comforting kind of feeling. I think not so much going back to how you felt as a kid, because kids are impressionable.
Exactly. Well, it's like Star Wars, I guess, is the best example I can use. I want to use something different, but it's just the most palatable that everybody can think of. So, like with the sequels, people that like the films, the sequels, seem to think that people that don't, it's because they want to have that same experience. And it's like, no, I want to have a new experience that isn't anything like, I don't know. It's just. Yes. I want to see something different. I whatever it was is what it was. Don't have stuff that happens now affect what the story was before. And it's not because of anything with the childhood part. It's the story is now being affected with continuity, character growth, all the things. Those are now compromised if you keep on doing stuff. I mean, the more movies you make, the more chance you have to screw up your franchise. Look at Terminator.
Oh yes.
And especially, okay, then we're started off great. Wow, amazing movie. Second one, it slightly contradicts something. They could only send back one person and one robot before, but now they could send another one back as well. That's like the only continuity they break, really. But other than that, still fantastic. And
still a solid film. Yeah.
Keeps true and the most memorable, and it's great. And then next one, cute Terminator chick. Well, you didn't. You did some cool stuff, I guess, but yeah, you didn't really even make this one, guys. Well, what are you doing here? What are you doing now? What are you doing? It kind of makes a lot of sacrifices of the last one kind of pointless. Shouldn't have done that. Maybe the fourth one. I guess we're in the future now, and nobody knows what the hell's going on. Okay, and then now fifth one. What are you guys doing? Stop it! No. Charlie's Angels. I didn't even think had that much of a fan base. When they made those.
That's one that came out of the blue. It's like, really? Was that popular to begin with? I mean, I know people kind of watched the show, but that was back in the 70s when it came out?
Maybe.
So,
I don't
know. The same could be said for the Alien franchise. I think that's kind of gone astray now. They've gone too deep into their own lore.
The more they made, the more they were burying themselves. Like, oh man, you guys could have stopped a while ago and been just fine. This is a common question that I want to bring up. And this is actually one of those videos I was telling you about that I'm working on. It's going to take me a long time to do because there's a lot of information to it and a lot of perspectives to consider with it. And it's, should franchise ever end? Or should they just continue forever?
For me, I would say yes. I think a franchise can definitely run out of steam. I think there's a point where it stops becoming something that adds to the franchise, that adds to the lore of whatever story they're telling, and it almost becomes a satire of itself.
Yeah. They end up not knowing how to expand on anything anymore. They try to bring more references to things from the past and try to make it seem like it's that they thought of it all along, but it doesn't make any sense, and it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. And what I think, so this would mean with Star Wars, they could have ended at any point. Could have been at any one of their movies could have been a good ending. Essentially, but they keep on adding stuff, and the more they add, whether people like the prequels or not, the more they would add, the less people liked it. Still, like the overall majority, I guess, that were liking it. Though I'd still argue the prequels still do it okay, still have issues, of course. But then you look at other ones like Lord of the Rings. You had those 3 fantastic ones, and that could have just been the end of them. You don't need to ever make any other films like them. I don't like they're making a TV show now. They made The Hobbit. I don't think they need to make a TV show. Just don't.
I could have I could do without the TV series, to be fair. And I think The Hobbit could have been made in 2 films instead of stretching it out into 3, because again, they added a lot of stuff that didn't belong in the books.
Could have been 1 3-hour film, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the book's relatively small. This isn't a big book that you're pulling from.
Yeah, it's
into 3 films is a little bit ridiculous.
It's like, I'm going to tell the story of Cat in the Hat, and there's World War III as well, and there's also aliens. And it's also it's a big adaptation of Cat in the Hat, and of course, it just says all these things. Like, what are you doing? Why? No.
There's also the problem with franchises where if they do run out of steam, they do a reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and go all the way back to the beginning.
So that's part of my question. If a franchise comes to an end with a certain movie run, do you think that after a certain amount of time, it's okay to do a reboot at some point or a remake? That's where my iffiness comes in. It's like, maybe, sometimes, I don't know.
Sometimes I think it does depend on what the IP is. So there are some films that I think could stand, because it's been so long, to have a fresh take on. Spawn, for example. I'd really like to see a new Spawn film, because the one that we had, it was okay. It wasn't brilliant.
Goofy, but also boring. It was one of the most boring, goofy, weird movies that I was like, this is funny, but I really don't want to watch this. Kind of like, it's cool, but I don't know.
But I think that's one character that, I think could stand to have a fresh take, and I think people would enjoy it.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
No, you carry on. That was it.
I guess so. Like some of my examples are Jumanji. So Jumanji was 1995, I think, when it came out, or 1980, I forget. And it was the movie, and that's all it was. It was one solid movie. It isn't a franchise.
No.
It's a movie. They might have made some games. They could have made comics, whatever. But it was one movie. Then, like 20 years later, let's make a sequel that doesn't look like it fits in that same place at all. They could have called it Video Game Movie or The Rock Movie or something, and it could have been the same premise, just a Jumanji-like movie called something else, and be its own new little franchise. But they continued that one, and it's just kind of like, well, really? You're just kind of tagging the Jumanji name. I don't know. I felt very iffy. Even if the movie's good, I don't like that they called it Jumanji. I don't like that they tried to connect it. It seemed like you don't need to. Like if they made, do you ever see Overboard with Kurt Russell?
A long time ago, yes. I do know the one. Yeah, Goldie Hawn?
Yeah. They made a reboot. And it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a sequel or a prequel or something. It's like, why though? It's just one little story. Just like when people wrote books back in the day, and I assume even now, did they just keep on making 20 books, or like just, oh, I'm going to reboot my book now? Like, is the Twilight author going to make another one? Or I don't understand. Like with writing, like books, is that a thing? People reboot themselves and just have all these. I know that some books have big series, of course, but usually I would assume that is part of a story that they have when it comes to a book. But I don't know, actually. Do they just go, okay, I wrote one book, thank God that's successful, and we'll make another one? I don't know. But
yeah, with books, they seem to reissue them after time. So if an author becomes popular and has done a book that didn't sell particularly well in the past, that book that didn't sell will get kind of a fresh cover. It will be kind of rebooted and re-released.
It's the same book, though.
It's the same book. Yeah, it's not changed. Yeah,
it's just in a shiny case now. Pretty much, it's new marketing behind it, but it's the same book.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I get what you mean with Jumanji. I liked, the new Jumanji for what it was. I didn't think much of the second film, but it was all right. But as you say, the only thing that tied it to the previous film was the game. And even the game, they didn't really touch on very much because it was changed to a video game rather than a board game. Yeah.
It comes into real life. Yeah. So, and this is why Jumanji is my main comparison here, because there was another film that came out in the early 2000s called Zathura, which was not a good film, really, but it was a Jumanji-like movie where they have a game called Zathura, and these two boys are playing it or whatever, and their house, whenever they play things on the board game, things happen in real life. Their house becomes floating in space. There's like an astronaut that has to come and help them. There's weird robot alien things and whatever, but it's the same premise as Jumanji, essentially, but a fully different movie. And you can make something that's Jumanji-like, but your own. Like its own little genre, kind of. And you can just have movies that are like Jumanji without making new Jumanji ones. And this is what I mean by that franchise should have just been Jumanji, the movie, and that's it. And then have other ones that are not Jumanji, But they keep on making. They're going to make Jumanji 9, I assume, at some point.
Oh yes, yeah. They hit a formula that works, especially because obviously everyone loves The Rock. You know.
Mm-hmm. Which again, I like him, but I also don't like him because he's the same character in almost everything he's in. The only one he was kind of different was Doom, where he's the bad guy, kind of. Other than that, he's usually just hey, I'm the smiley good guy, hey, I'm big and strong, but it's nice and sweet. And it's just like, I know, but you're that in everything, man. I'm getting kind of, can you do a range? Like, can you play something different a little that isn't the same guy? I don't know. It's that's what kind of aggravates me a little bit, and he's in so many things. And it's just like, is there anything you ever go, nah, I don't want to be in that? Just take everything. I don't know. I could see him being in Care Bears, the movie.
Yeah, just one of the Care Bears.
The Fast and Furious crew starring in Care Bears. That's what they'll do.
Did you ever see that spoof that he did where he was Bambi?
That was the SNL skit.
Was SNL, yeah.
SNL skit.
Was funny.
Yeah,
okay.
Right here. Got Thumper. He's thumping. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, that's what I imagine how they'd have him in a Disney movie of some kind. But it's about family. Well, that's their main trope in Fast and Furious. At the end of every one, it's about family.
Yes, you were telling me about Fast and Furious in the green room, and what number are we on now? Did you say
9? But it's technically the 10th because Hobbs and Shaw is a spin-off one off after 8. So
see, there we go again. Not just with franchise, but with spin-offs of franchises.
Yep. Yep. Which are pretty much in the same universe. So it's just not another mainline one. It's just another one that's in the whole thing. And I mean, that's why, like, the MCU is one where they had 20-something movies, and it's like, I think it could have ended for, at least, if you're not going to end forever, can you at least have a break? Like, have 2 years where you don't release an MCU film. Get us wanting it to come back, rather than going, God, go away, stop. I don't know. So I'm going to make this a big video at some point where I talk about franchises and should they end or not, because I don't know. That's a big conversation. The Mummy is a franchise that's been rebooted like a million times.
Yes.
Like there's been there's over 60 movies about the Mummy. The last one being Tom Cruise, I think. No, that one was a funny mess.
Terrible, and that was supposed to have launched their, in quotes, dark universe, wasn't it? And
well, I think their last 7 movies were trying to launch a universe, but never worked. Dracula Untold was supposed to launch one as well, and something like that. Van Helsing was kind of like the way Mahler put it, it's like an Avengers movie, but with monsters, essentially. Just everything is in it, and just crazy stuff's happening all the time. There's a grenade that just vaporizes vampires or something. There's just constant attacks. The werewolves being there, the Frankenstein monsters is here, and vampire just everywhere. It's nonsense, but fun nonsense.
It was fun, and I think it was kind of a shame, because if they'd done it properly, I think a relaunch of the Universal Monsters could have been done pretty well. I think it would have gone down well, because we haven't really had any big kind of horror franchises. I think the last one we had was, I know, Halloween kind of came back. Scream did well for a time.
What? How many movies did they make? 7?
7, 8, yeah,
something like that. Again, after 3, I'm like, what is the point anymore? Like, what?
Saw did well, but even that ran out of steam and got silly.
That was just, let's put people in new scenarios every time, and okay, it's almost like a weekly show. Just, hey, let's kidnap these people. What's going to happen to them this week? Who's going to be the douche character in this one that's going to last a long time? Like, I don't know. It's like that's kind of my point, where it's like they had something and then they rehash it so much where it's kind of annoying, or they do too many things that are just rubs people the wrong way. They're like, oh, that's what you're doing? Okay. Oh, another one. Creative. Yes.
Yes. But I think a lot of people saw this Marvel universe that they'd worked out and realized, what a big money maker it was, and thought, that's what they're going to do, but didn't have the kind of forward planning that Marvel put into the films.
Yeah.
Because DC have tried it with, various success, but they've never really had a kind of coherent universe.
The Fast and Furious is probably one of the only ones that is close to Marvel's success in their random movies. They're their own universe now. Like, the physics in Fast and Furious make no sense, but that's because it makes sense in their universe. In their universe, when you go off of a ramp, you don't just go. You go, and you're fine. Like, that's really fun. You can literally smash into a torpedo and jump out and do backflip and then land in another car seat, and that's totally normal. That's fine in that universe. You can do that. That's cool. So they make it work for their little thing. They're their own. They almost have superhumans in it now. I'm not even kidding. And Hobbs and Shaw. That was part of the plot.
Oh my gosh.
Because, it was like technology that enhances you, and then fighting two people that aren't enhanced, and they end up beating the guy. Like, the guy's like, Idris Elba played the guy. He's like, I'm Black Superman. It's like, okay, cute. Yeah. Jim the Vaccine says, "Bro, Valkyrie, if this is current year, silly every wait, what? If this is current year, every silly." Ends checkout. I have no idea what he's talking about right here. What?
He said, if we ever get out of this ridiculous situation that we're in with the Coof, check out Hayworth Steampunk Weekend. Saying how much fun it would be to actually, get out and mingle with people.
Okay. Okay. I was like, I have no idea what these are. So. Okay.
Yeah. But again, that goes back to, I don't know about you, Rookie, but I miss going to the cinema.
Yes, too much. I'd even put up with people crinkling their stupid wrappers,
Yeah. I'll put up with people turning their phones on and it being like a, 600-watt light going off.
I almost want to, just so I can go, I'm watching this movie. Oh, you stupid bitch, turn that off. Like, I want to feel that again. And I'd wink and go, it's okay though. We're in the theater,
it's all good.
Or at least we have the privilege to be in the theater. They're not gone. So, yes, I wish. I wish they do more. Theaters have a lot of potential to still be interesting and relevant, but they don't do enough to keep them there. And even with COVID, I feel like they could be taking advantage of certain things to still get people in them, even if it's not to watch a movie. Like, I think video games would be their thing, okay, you guys want to rent a theater for like, $400, you got 4 friends, $100 each, you can bring your own food, or hell, they'll have some there, I don't know, pay for them, charge them for the food when you get in there too. Hey, you want a steak, while you're playing a game, or some Cheetos, $20. I don't know how they do it, but
usual concession prices then.
Exactly. Yeah, same how they do it, and that'd be some fun. Is to have some buddies do that, or to just watch some movies with a couple friends on there. Just reserve the whole freaking big screen theater. Couple $100 probably, and watch whatever movies rather than having them be closed. That's what they should do.
So I thought drive-ins would have had a resurgence, because you would have thought that would have been a good kind of way to get around this social distancing. You're in your own car, you're in your own social bubble.
True. I've never seen a drive-in theater.
Me neither. I'd love to go to one. It's on my bucket list.
I hope they exist still. Apparently they do. But I would think that there would be. But I think for some reason, there's certain rights that happen with that as well. And depending on weather, and there's other factors to consider, I suppose, with it. But I would agree. I would think, while schools are closed, just project it on the wall. Or while theaters are closed, project on the theater wall outside for the parking lot, and have whatever amount of people do it, and that'd be cool. I'd give, even if I'd give my money to it. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
pay a little extra. Pay extra.
A lot of people are talking about cinemas where you can go have a proper meal, and I'd be willing to pay the extra to sit down and have the proper dinner and watch a film and have a glass of wine, make it a real experience.
Have you ever been in a theater where they do that?
I haven't, unfortunately. No.
one used to exist. I probably mentioned this 1,000 times. I don't know if I've mentioned that with you. Cinetopia. Oh man, Cinetopia there was only 4 theaters in the country that was Cinetopia. One was like in Kansas, and the other 3 were around my area. And we had one in the mall and another one down my road, and they had like a whole Vinatopia, which was literally like a fine dining restaurant in the theater, kind of, where so you could go dinner, dinner and movie in the same place, essentially, not at the same exact time, but you could also. There's an option where for some of the theater rooms, you can have a nice comfy chair, footstool, little recliner, and service. And they can bring you a burger, something. They can bring you some nice made meals, some drinks, alcohol if you want. And it was mostly adult catered, essentially. Like the kids could go to it, but mostly adults and higher teens would go, because one, is expensive, two, because like $14 was like a minimum usually around there. And you pay extra.
Yeah.
And the food was quite expensive for what it was, but still the experience makes it better with that. And they also, another plus is in their lobby, they usually have some arcade stuff. They have like some arcade games, hockey, air hockey and stuff. And so if you're waiting for your movie, you got another half an hour before the movie starts, got something to do. Or if you have kids with you, you can shoo them there for a bit, while you're doing stuff.
That would be worth it.
The theater, the sound system was so good. They have like some small speakers in your chair or something, or whatever it is that like makes it vibrate a little. So like if like you're watching Godzilla and there's a big footstep, it's like goes under your seat a little bit. You're like, oh shit, what was that? It goes, if there's like a helicopter going through the screen, it's like zoom, like you feel it go around you with the sound.
So it's fully immersive.
Yes.
I love those sort of experiences, and I know back in the day, a lot of cinemas used to have those kind of gimmicks for films. Yes. Things like The Tingler, for example. And a lot of horror films would have kind of gimmicks. They'd have a nurse on hand. For people if they fainted, it was that kind of thing. So I think
so if you're watching Jaws, they splash you with water or something.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. What was this? Jim says, sorry, the rookie critic. The original Lord of the Rings was missing Tom Bombadil, however you spell it. Yeah, but I think that's probably fine. I've heard that he might have kind of messed up what they wanted to do with the ring in that. But it's funny you say Tom Bombadil again, because I named one of my tomatoes in my project Tom Badil.
Yeah, you did. Love that.
Yes, the little fat mustache guy with the black mustache. Keely says Max Guinerva. God, I'm not good with reading out names right now. Max Guinerva watched Terminator Dark Fate when she proceeded to track down Tim Miller to give him an ass whooping. Who's Max Guevara?
Guevara?
I'm not sure who that is. I'm sorry. I know I'm a film guy, but I'm not that good with some stuff that I don't know right now. Reboot is never acceptable unless you continue the storyline. I don't know if I agree with that 100%. Is there a reboot that you've ever seen that you kind of enjoyed?
I'd have to think on it, to be honest. Generally, I'm against reboots. But I think for me, one, it depends on what's being rebooted, and two, it depends on how much time has passed. Between if a film failed the first time and they're trying to reboot it a couple of years later.
Like an example could be like The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Mm-hmm, yes,
that was to call it a reboot. I don't know if that's accurate, but a remake. They're kind of along the same lines, but
retelling maybe.
They're using the same basic stuff, but telling a different story or in a different way. I think that sometimes if you made a movie in the 70s, if you were to make a new version of that now, it's not entirely bad, because you're just trying to go, okay, they had whatever resources available at the time, and we have the context of that is a story, and we have current technology and actors and something, and you can try to do something with it. So like if they made an Iron Man back in the day, and they wanted to make a new one now, and they started with Robert Downey Jr. I mean, it could be good. Or the Punisher. They had an old Punisher movie that nobody liked, and then they made one that had what's his face in it. I always forget his name. The Pulp Fiction guy, John Travolta, was in one of the Punisher movies. People like that one somewhat. And then they made another one, which I don't even remember the hell that one was about. But some reboots are fine. I guess like Freaky Friday and The Parent Trap are considered a remake, a reboot. Because there was older versions, and then they had Lindsay Lohan in these ones.
Sorry.
It's a weird example, but I'd say they don't do disservice. They don't like disgrace the old ones.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the best example of a reboot. It's not hurting its franchise. So
no, and it's probably one that, as you say, a lot of people kind of forgot about anyway. So is it still technically a bad reboot if it's not in the public consciousness anymore?
Right. I think there should be like a 10-year minimum to you can't reboot something within 10 years.
Yes.
You gotta wait a little while. 12 years maybe even. Like you give it a little time. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. Let people forget for a sec or miss it. Who knows?
Yeah. See, Disney are bad for that. So they did all the obviously the cartoon films, and then they redid them all as live action, which I think. Yeah.
See, would you like to see? I ask this question sometimes, and people give different answers. So, would you like to see some more live action stuff adapted to animation?
So go back, reverse it.
Yeah,
Yes.
Imagine Alien,
I would. Yeah.
Alien as an anime.
Mm-hmm.
Something, or Predator or Terminator or whatever in an animated format.
Yeah, I'd actually love to see that. I do miss good animated films, proper 2D animated films, hand-drawn films, rather than the CGI films or the computer-generated films.
Yeah, I'm thinking 2D when it comes to definitely.
Or stop motion. I love stop motion.
Yes, that'd be good. See those two things take so much hard work. Like, and I'm not saying the other stuff doesn't, but I think we can all agree there's a considerable more amount of work to do with something like that, where you have to literally move things constantly, and stop motion, without even saying anything, is very time consuming to get very little done. And then with 2D animation, I don't know how it works in the modern day, especially since they don't really make them anymore, as far as Disney anyway. Like, they don't make their 2D ones like they used to, or they used to have great color palettes they physically make, and now they don't. They stuck with the 3D bulgy format, which is fine, but it gets really bland after a while. The Pixar type of look, the Bugs Life, Toy Story, they look all fine, but every single one they make is in that same kind of format. It's like, can you make an old 2D one? Just throw it in there every now and then, a little bit.
Yeah. See, I think your eye gets accustomed to that kind of animation, because, as you say, all of the Pixar films, although technically superior, all look very similar. Whereas if you go back to, say, Little Mermaid, or even further back to Beauty and the Beast, or something like that, it's a whole different experience watching a film.
Very different qualities that they can bring out, different type of focuses. It's a different look. I'd say that sometimes maybe the 2D look, in a way, is more creepy to a kid compared to the bulgy. The bulgy's more playful-ish. It's hard to make the bulginess look menacing compared to animation, where you can make that look pretty devastating to a kid sometimes. But kids need that. They need to be a little scared, a little like, oh shoot, that's a little freaky.
Snow White was scary when it first came out.
Yeah, I imagine. Freaky old witch, little dwarf things running around. I could see people going, that's freaky. That's freaky.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be interesting to see 2D come back, especially in times of COVID. I think that would be making a comeback, is 2D animations. Because you can't physically, it's harder for actors to act in the same room together. Well, why not have artists that are at home start working on some stuff, or give them a computer that can do it, or something, if that's what they need to do, and get people to voice act, and start putting something together, get an editor, and boom, getting some new movies.
It could be done, definitely.
Yeah, indeed. Jim says, how could you ever make a reboot of Overboard? Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn was what made it what it was. Exactly. Well, I mean, that's even if they didn't just make it what it was, just in general, it was a type of story that you don't need to see again in a different way. Or I don't know. This just kind of goes with my Jumanji thing. They could have made an Overboard style movie where so and so loses their memory and the other person is tricking them in some way, and call it something else. I would have preferred that. Like, you can make movies like that. You know, it could be like an astronaut is in space or something with somebody else, or they're on a space station. I don't know, and then bonks his head or loses oxygen, loses some of his memory, and they screw around with them. So it can be kind of an intense comedy. I don't know. in the same vein of Overboard.
Yes, it's like, do you remember when they remade The Magnificent Seven? That was a film that didn't need remaking because the original was such a good film.
Yeah. Imagine if they remade The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, don't. Oh my God.
Like, that's the type of one where you look at and you're like, what else could you really be doing that gets anything like this? Like, if you're going to make a Western, try to make your best type of Western, but don't remake this. Like, I don't know.
And that's a genre that I'd actually like to see a resurgence of, because we don't see a lot of Western films anymore. Same with kind of horror films. It's gone to more action films. It's gone to comic book films, which I think, as you said, with the Marvel, they've kind of oversaturated the market and people have gotten sick of seeing that now.
Take a little break. Just take a little break. Or change up the style a lot. Just a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's insane. It's insane. We're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon, guys. Just catching up to your chats real quick. Didn't care for Cythera. Yeah, neither did I. Cythera was crap, and that's from a while ago.
Seen it. I wouldn't mind seeing it just to see what it's like.
Yeah, it's a funny little. Okay, you tried. Good try, but no. It's like, I saw what you're doing there. Jim says, I wish I could express this through audio, but The Rock is pretty much Arnold. He was big, badass, and is moving toward expanding to comedy, serious roles, just like Jackie Chan, The Foreigner. Yeah, I suppose. I miss Jackie Chan.
I miss Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan's insane. He's great guy.
Like an idol for filmmaking. Like, he's the example. I think because he would work on his own films or whatever films. Forgive me, I forget his country. I don't actually know what he's from. He's Cantonese, or I have no idea. Whatever it's from, they let him do more of his style filmmaking, where it's like cameras on him and they're doing the whole thing until they get it right. Over here, you can just screw up a bit. It's okay. We'll just cut. And it's like, no, dude, you got to try to do this. Like, no, we'll just cut it. We don't want to do more work. It's like, you fuckers. Like, I'm trying to have us show our martial arts, and he's like, no, it's a fight scene. Who cares? It's like, oh, jeez.
I always loved that he used to do his own stunts. Well, still does his own stunts.
He'd get injured so often doing the stunts, but he'd still proceed in the thing like a trooper. Like, he broke his ribs in that scene. I didn't see it. He blocked it off pretty good. He's good at that. Oh, man. I think that's the kind of thing people want to see in modern films now, is like people actually kind of risking themselves a bit rather than being extremely safe with how everything's done nowadays.
Yes, yeah. There aren't many people that do their own stunts. I mean, I know Tom Cruise does because he insists on doing it. And kind of swinging back around to what we were talking about originally, Gina Carano did her own stunts,
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of respect to be given for it, and then it's also that they're willing to take the risk to make this as good as they can. And there's a lot of respect to that. It's like, man, you're really trying to put forth all this effort to make this look as good as it can without having, we'll just CGI, or we'll just cut this out, stuntman in it. It's like, no, I'm in this. I'm gonna do it. Like, that's how you do it, man. That's some old respect. A lot of people these days don't know how to earn that type of respect now, and I think the risk factor is a huge draw, I would say. He said, I had hopes for it and the MonsterVerse. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. No, unfortunately,
that's dead.
The MonsterVerse will be just every attempt to make one. Just every movie they make is supposed to start one that never happens.
Yeah, they're never going to get it into a cohesive universe.
The monster universe is always just the first movie. It's this first Dracula Untold is our new universe. Okay, and so the next new MonsterVerse in it is the next new beginning, which is the Mummy, which failed. So whatever one comes next is also the next new beginning, and that's just the MonsterVerse. Is new starts every time.
And eventually, yes, it's something we'll see.
Pretty much. Keely Chow says it's sad that not many people know about the Andy Sedaris cinematic universe. What? I don't know what that is either. I'm not sure. Fast and the Furious and the Stuntoverse. Yeah. Oh yeah. Indeed. My cat's whining in the next room. Shut up. She sleeps all morning. Could have let her out. She's like, no, I'm gonna sleep all day. And then now she wants attention. I'm not missing cinema visits. I have microwave popcorn and 135 cinema screen. Yes, I had to sacrifice part of my flat to make it happen, but I do have a home cinema. Well, that's cool. And even if I had my own setup like that, though, I would still want to experience some movies in the theater. Like,
yes,
Godzilla is like, yes, it can be cool in your home, but at least opening to the theater, like, come on, having everybody there all with it too. It's kind of the experience of it, and any little thing, it's like, oh shit, everybody's like, oh, look at that shit. No,
sharing it with other people. I remember seeing Endgame, and although it wasn't the best film, it was fun to be in a packed audience and watching that film.
Share the experience.
Mm-hmm.
When people overreact, oh shit, don't get eaten, no, Karen, don't eat Karen, no. She yelled at the monster and she should have just kept running. Oh yes. But yeah, it's good seeing you guys. Just trying to read the last little bit of your chats here. That's the one thing StreamYard I wish could improve, that when you scroll, it wouldn't jump on you.
Yes, we get that a lot. Yeah, you click on a comment and then you miss it, and it's like 15 comments back, and you got to scroll back up and get it.
Well, it's like I'm just scrolling down a little bit, and then it's like, I'm like, no, there's a thing that I could click that'll take me down, but all right. That's all good. Continuum Trek. Glad that you stopped by as well. So it was a nice, fun conversation. Loved it. Love it. Love talking film. Love talking it. We segued very good into every conversation. Pretty much. All of it was all connected pretty much.
We're professionals. What can I say?
I know, right? Like, none of it. We only discussed like two of the topics on the green room, and that was it. And then just rolled with it. Loved it. That was great. Good flow.
It was. Thank you.
Never seen a reboot that made original better. You see, I've never thought of a reboot as making the original better. A reboot should be considered more as a revival, long forgotten story. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. I kind of wish that reboots would have, like, at least in the credits, that this is based on whatever movie or from whatever movie. So maybe people can look that movie up that it was on. Like when The Mummy came out with Brendan Fraser, I didn't know that there was a bunch of other Mummy movies that were made before it that are not connected to it. But like, I just wouldn't think there's that many, or whatever it's whichever specific story it's adapting from. Like, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. All right. Well, it's good seeing you guys. Any last things you want to say, Sarah? Any new stuff going on for you and the Valkyries channel?
Yeah, just want to say big thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure as always. Thank you, sweetheart. Tomorrow we've got a burlesque show for Valentine's, so that should be a lot of fun. It's a little bit later, so it's going to be 12 Central instead of 10. But yeah, really looking forward to that. And then Sunday we may or may not be talking WandaVision.
Okay, yes, yeah, that'll be in question. I understand that.
Thanks, Disney. Appreciate it.
Yet again. I don't think it'll be too bad if you did one. I assume a lot of people, I'm just saying, a lot of people that say to cancel Disney Plus now, I thought this was all said before with a lot of the things that they still have done. And I don't know. If people want to watch some stuff on there, I'd say that's fine. And then, if you leave, you leave. You don't. I mean, they'll constantly be making money on whatever anyway.
Oh, yes.
Whether you're giving them a couple bucks here or you're not giving them a couple bucks here, you're doing whatever with it. I mean,
yes,
that's all. But yeah, without further ado, I'll see you guys soon, and have a good one.